It's October, time for lit candles, pumpkins. It's also time for spirits to wander the earth, and for people to prepare for those visits. One such visit might come from the very man whose legend is the reason for the tradition of carving pumpkins. The man known as Stingy Jack. The image of a carved pumpkin is deeply associated with Halloween. To find where that tradition started, we have to go to Ireland. Now, it's unclear how old the tale of Stingy Jack is, but the most well-known version of his legend comes from the 18th century, going something like this. Many centuries ago, there lived a drunkard known as Stingy Jack, known for his trickery and meanness. Jack wasn't exactly liked by other people in the village. He was such a mean and deceitful person that his infamy grew, to the point where the devil himself heard of it. And the devil grew curious. So curious, in fact, that one night he came up from the fiery depths to see for himself if Jack lived up to his reputation. That night, Jack had been out drinking and was stumbling back home. He was wandering through the countryside when he stumbled across a body lying on the cobblestones. One that looked directly at him with an eerie smile on its face. Now, Jack was no fool. He knew what he was looking at, and he knew that it was over. The devil had finally come to collect. But you see, Jack was a trickster, and a clever one at that. So when the devil approached him, Jack told him that he would come with him, but he only had one request first, that the devil allowed him to drink some more ale before they departed. Finding no reason not to agree with this, they headed to the local pub. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, Jack drank and drank while the devil watched him. When the bill came, Jack asked the devil to pay the tab for the ale. This actually surprised the devil at first, but Jack told him that it would be one final trick. Change into a silver coin, pay the tab, and change back when no one is looking. One final scam. Amused by this idea, the devil agreed and changed into a coin. But instead of paying the bill, Jack took the coin and put it in his pocket, where he also conveniently kept a crucifix. The crucifix kept the devil from changing back, so he was now trapped. The devil demanded to be freed, but Jack refused, not unless the devil agreed to some of his terms, which the devil would agree to after he spent some time in Jack's pocket next to the crucifix. The deal that Jack made with the devil that night was that the devil would leave him alone for 10 years. Once the devil had agreed, Jack removed the coin from his pocket, allowing the devil to transform back. Despite being angry with the deception, the devil honored the deal and left. Time passed, seasons changed. 10 years would fly by, and before Jack knew it, he was once again faced with the devil himself. The same setting, the same circumstances, because Jack had learned nothing from those 10 years. He was still the same mean drunk that he'd always been. When Satan was standing in front of him, Jack seemed to accept that it was his time, and he agreed to go with him. But like 10 years prior, he only had one little request. You see, he hadn't eaten and he was starving, so could he please have an apple from a nearby apple tree? Despite knowing that Jack was deceitful, And having been fooled once before by him, the devil decided to agree to this request. And as such, the devil climbed up a nearby tree. But as soon as he reached the branches where the apples hang, Jack had surrounded the base of the tree with crucifixes. Because he was no fool, he knew that it was time for the devil to reappear. So he had prepared, and the devil now found himself trapped once again. The devil was enraged, not to mention frustrated, that he had fallen for this stupid trick once again. So he demanded that Jack release him. And like before, Jack agreed, but only on one condition, that he would be left alone from now on. His soul would not be going to hell at all. Seemingly having no other option, the devil agreed, and Jack removed the crucifixes and set him free. And once again, despite being angry by this, the devil honored the deal and left. Jack continued living on as he had before. Despite these two encounters with the devil, he had learned absolutely nothing. But this kind of living takes its toll, and one day his body finally gave out, and Jack passed away. Appearing at the gates of St. Peter, Jack was promptly stopped. He was told that his deceitfulness and his drinking meant that he was not welcome into heaven. So Jack was forced to leave again. Being barred from entering heaven, he soon found himself standing in front of the gates of hell, and in a very ironic twist, he begged the devil to let him into the underworld. But the devil told him that he could not do that. After all, he had given his word that he would not claim Jack's soul. Remember? So Jack was not welcome and was sent on his way, but before he went, the devil gave him an ember from the fiery pits to light his way. Now Jack had this glowing ember with him, and he was doomed to roam the world between the planes of good and evil, with only this ember to light his way in the eternal darkness that he now found himself in. This ember burned in his hand, and he had to find some way to carry it. So he grabbed a turnip from a nearby field. He hollowed it out and placed the ember within it. Now holding his homemade lantern, Jack began his endless roam on Earth. While that is the most common variation of the story, there are of course others. One that was printed in the 1836 edition of the Dublin Penny Journal. In that version of the story, Jack is a blacksmith, a drunk and mean one. But this Jack begins the story with a good deed. He stumbles upon a man in the countryside and helps him. This man is then revealed to be an angel. As a reward for this good deed, the angel grants Jack 3 wishes. But Jack just can't help himself. So his wishes are that anyone who sits in his chair, takes wood from his tree, or tries to take his cobbling tools will be punished severely. The angel is disappointed by this, and as a punishment, bars Jack from entering heaven. As he never met the devil in this story, the devil then decides to collect him, but he managed to evade Satan's messengers over and over again through trickery and deceit. But he has nowhere else to go. And one thing is certain, that no matter the story of Jack, there is no happy ending for him. His actions in life will always lead to him being condemned to roam the world, as neither heaven nor hell wants him. All he has for his life is a small ember to light the way. Jack would become known as Jack of the Lantern, which might be more familiar to you as Jack-o'-lantern. Now, originally, it's believed that this story had nothing to do with Halloween, but more to do with trying to explain a phenomenon known as ignis fatuus, or, more famously, will o' the wisp, a flickering light that is often seen in marshlands and bogs. Science propose that this phenomenon is caused by the gases of decaying plants in marshy areas. And despite there being folklore that attempts to explain the phenomenon, the idea that it was caused by natural gases is not something that modern scientists came up with. It's actually something that can be traced back to 1596. So even back then, the more learned people had an idea of what this might be. The more common folk living out in these areas, they had no explanation for it. For all they knew, there was this weird light that appeared like a floating flame that seemed to move away as you got closer to it. Folklore would emerge from that. Depending on the story, the light was a lost soul, dancing bones, fairies, the souls of dead children, or even ghost lights that were meant to confuse travelers. As these lights often appear in bogs or marshes, it is also said that following the light is very dangerous, possibly even deadly. If you were to follow the light, you might find yourself falling into the water and drowning if you were very unlucky. There are also some more positive stories about will o' the wisp that paints this light as a good spirit, leading the brave to vast treasures. Most often than not, it is painted as a malevolent, mischievous, or even cruel creature, such as Stingy Jack. So where do the pumpkins come in? Carving vegetables is not exactly unique to neither Ireland nor the United States. It's a pretty common practice in many parts of the world. The one that is specific to Halloween is said to originate in Ireland. There was one specific tradition that was the carving of root vegetables, such as beets, potatoes, or turnips, to use as lanterns. Often carved with disturbing, grotesque faces, the lanterns were said to represent supernatural beings, or were used to ward off evil spirits, such as a mean old drunkard doomed to wander the plains. If you had a lantern in the window, Jack would not come knocking. This tradition was common in parts of Ireland and the Scottish Highlands in the 19th century. When these Irish and Scottish people then emigrated to America, they would bring this tradition with them. And as they were so much easier to carve than potatoes or turnips, pumpkins quickly became the accepted canvas for a new generation of children that celebrated this holiday. And that's the legend of Stingy Jack. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, and I'll see you in the next one.